think about it too much, too much. Don't think about it too much, too much. Don't think about it too much, too much, too much, too much, too much, too much. Do you think about the days when we sat down smoking wine and drinking haze? Or is it the other way? Is it the other way? Swing round, come on, chill with me. I got your favorite show, we got it on my TV, but we don't have to watch that, no. I'll turn off the radio. So won't you pick up, then we can pick up. It's not a hookup, don't think about it too much, too much. You just need to pick up, then we can pick up. Don't think about it too much, too much. Don't think about it too much, too much. Don't think about it too much, too much. Don't think about it too much, too much, too much, too much. Swing round, come on, chill with me. I got your favorite show, recorded on my TV, but we don't have to watch that, no. I'll turn off the radio. So won't you pick up, then we can pick up. It's not a hookup, don't think about it too much, too much. You just need to pick up, then we can pick up. Don't think about it too much, too much. Don't think about it too much, too much. Don't think about it too much, too much, too much, too much, too much, too much. Do you think about the days when we sat down smoking wine and drinking haze? Or is it the other way? Is it the other way? Swing round, come on, chill with me. I got your favorite show, we got it on my TV, but we don't have to watch that, no. I'll turn off the radio. So won't you pick up, then we can pick up. It's not a hookup, don't think about it too much, too much. You just need to pick up, then we can pick up. Don't think about it too much, too much. Don't think about it too much, too much. Don't think about it too much, too much. Don't think about it too much, too much, too much, too much.
Alrighty, good morning, friends. Hope you guys doing well. Happy Monday and welcome back to the stream. Right off the bat, if I sound a little like under the weather or nasally or anything, I apologize. You know, not feeling the best. Last week I was out of town for a music festival and just surrounded by a bunch of fucking unclean degenerates for 3 days. So was bound to catch something in that sea of human beings. But funny enough, first time ever in my like 15-year relationship or almost 15-year relationship with my girlfriend, did we both get sick at the exact same time. So this weekend was pretty funny. We were both literally bedridden, watching shows, complaining, and playing rock, paper, scissors to see who has to take the dog out because we were both feeling like the headache and sinus pressure and everything. But either way, feeling better now. Just, you know, fair warning for being a little bit low energy. Yeah, good mornings all around. Here for the education. More people. Did the viewership change? Nah, not really. I told you guys the last stream that I would toy around with this just for the the fun of it. I'm not really expecting there to be a significant change in like viewership or anything like that. I just thought we would have some fun. Let's see if the new thumbnail strat works. Yeah, facts. Let's see. Magus has crazy video title. Doc has a crazy video thumbnail. We're trying our best out here, man. It's hard to break into the established crypto YouTuber scene, but we gotta try some new things. We gotta put ourselves out there, try some things to get the algorithm to pick us up. But if you guys want to help out, if you guys are here every week anyways, and you guys just hang around the stream, hitting the like button or hitting subscribe if you're not already subscribed. I know it sounds cringe, and when I watch YouTube videos, it doesn't matter what I'm watching, and the person in the video asks for likes, I'm always like, this motherfucker. But here I am doing the exact same thing because, it works, right? It's like, you gotta either clickbait or have a big audience somewhere or ask for likes. Like, one of these things is to get the algorithm to pick up on your stuff, to get it to learn that, hey, people are actually vibing with this stuff. Maybe we should push it to other audiences. Anyways, enough about that shit. Yeah, thank you for the well wishes, guys. Yeah, I'll feel better. Thought I was tripping. Doc got hacked. No. I talked about this last week. I said I would toy around with it. So editor hooked it up. We love Wusong for that. He actually asked me. He's like, "Where do I get these pictures?" And I'm like, "Bro, like just go to Dip Wheeler's page. I'm sure you'll find something." So shout out Dip Wheeler for the content. All right. Anyways, we got the VWAP scan here. Everyone, brace your eyes. We're going to the light charts. Talk about Bitcoin high time frame all the way down to local values and stuff like that. So shall we get started? I need to get rid of this for my OCD. Shit. Okie dokie. So I know some of you are going to be annoyed that I'm bringing this up. Other viewers are not going to care, but some of you guys are going to be like, "Oh no, not the 9-month range thesis again." Well, here it is, guys. I feel like I've been a broken record, kind of just saying the same thing. A couple times when we were really strong, I kind of said to you guys, I don't really see, a reason for us to be turbo bullish, right? Other than number go up means number go up more. That's generally how trends work. But we're kind of missing a catalyst, right? So I'm not really too surprised to see this failing, especially in the first attempt. Like, how often do breakouts work on the first attempt? Not very often. Like, I'm sure a lot of you guys will point out to last summer's range. We got bonked at range highs a bunch of times. Even on our legitimate breakout, right, we kind of failed the first time, held the daily trend, which was already established as support before a big breakout, right, on the Trump election night. What's the difference here? I'd say the difference is a bit discretionary in that we haven't really established the daily trend as support on this entire rally. Yes, we did kind of flip it right here, but all of the corrections along this uptrend front ran the 4-hourly 100, front ran the 4-hourly 200. So I'm not too like overly confident that this must hold or has to hold. So what I'm doing instead is just focusing on price levels. The all-time high point of breakdown, I've discussed this with you guys, or at least I hope that I have. If anyone needs a refresher on what this level is here for the all-time high point of breakdown, drop it in chat. I'll go through it again. But I'm just choosing to see this for what it is, right? We're trading at some clean levels, the all-time high point of breakdown. We're downtrending on the 4-hour trend, and we're trading right into the daily. I'm personally not giving the daily trend too much importance, so I've just chosen to like not look at it a lot. One thing I will say is that for a lot of traders, like I think the 4-hourly 100 is a little bit more uncommon. Not that many traders use it, but the 4-hourly 200 is very common, right? That's a lot of people pay attention to this. So if we do drop into it, I'm expecting some sort of mechanical bounce. SR level from before, from the 102.5 region, February's high, very clean level that we're trading off of to the upside. So if we get down into these levels, I want to be optimistic and actually be looking for a bounce. We'll talk about altcoins in a minute. I do think there's some pretty nice setups for altcoins if Bitcoin does make a move down here. However, I do think that if we start accepting below 102.5, we can gap down pretty hard. This would be an area where I would say that like mid 90s, low 90s come into play. So if we're bullish, we do want to protect this at all costs, right? If we're thinking that, you know, what's his name, the new main character, hold on, Ping, Degen Ping. He's saying joyful June, right? If we're gonna have a joyful June, I think we're gonna have to hold from up here, the 1025 region. I think I made a tweet this morning, you know, kind of just broad focus levels of underneath 1025. We could mark down quite a bit. Above 105, 106, I think we can pop up back towards the previous all-time high, 109, 110. So where we're standing, two clean levels for kind of expansion out of this consolidation. While we're in this consolidation, I think the best case for you guys, or, you know, myself, game planning, anything, if you guys are listening, is to focus on kind of intraday rotations and play the extremities of value. So whenever you're trading chop, positioning becomes super, super important, right? You want to try your best not to position in the middle of a range. Even if you're bullish, right, the invalidations become so much lower. You're opening yourself up to like massive stops if you're incorrect. Same thing if you're shorting. You kind of don't want to be shorting in the middle of this. You want to wait for big kind of swing failures or spikes up that reject to accept above 106 and kind of drop back in. Those are your short triggers. So what's the lesson here? Just try to play at the extremities of value while we're in this value. I took a trade this morning off the New York Open, which I may or may not do some education on if we have time. But this is a trade that I took this morning. Actually, we'll get into this in a bit. If you guys are interested, we can do that in a little bit. Let me just finish up the opening ramble. So, what have we covered? Right. I'm sorry, my brain's not functioning at full speed today. So excuse me if I'm going left and right and all over the place. But high time frame. Failed breakout, right? High delta candle at the highs, stuffed. If we pull up the market order bubbles, you guys can see how much effort was put in at these highs to try to break us out. Market order bubbles like delta candles, volume, all these things are nuanced. They're not black and white. You have to understand the context in which they appear. So, for example, if you're getting a lot of effort, but that effort is being rewarded directionally, you don't really want to fade it. But if you're getting a lot of effort, and the effort is being unrewarded, that could be a sign that you're getting a little bit of exhaustion or a little bit of absorption, and especially when these things happen at key levels, like key high time frame resistance or all-time high and stuff like that, right? So from a high time frame basis, we're clear. From a medium time frame basis, we're pretty clear as well. We want to hold the values right here, 103, 102. We want to break the 4-hour downtrend. If and when we break the 4-hour downtrend, I think there's a big pop that could be in the cards, 109, 110, and then we'll see what we get from here. Acceptance below 4-hourly 200, acceptance below February's high, acceptance below 1025, we're going to call it, I think opens the door for another big bleed down. So we're kind of at one of these inflection points right here. My game plans are very simple. Trade intraday, play the rotations at the extremities, let the market decide what it wants to do, right? If the market wants to pop from here, I'll play continuation of the upside. If the market wants to drop from here, I'll stay defensive and just wait for better opportunities. Bro was trying to get you to pose for the cover. Wait, was this clickbait? I'm sorry, but 40% move with no pullback is not a range. That's Trader EXO level to level matey cope. That's a wide range. I mean, no one was. What's funny here, Jaggers, and I'll actually directly comment on this. No one, not a single person, had an issue with me calling this a range when we were trading down here. No one, right? Because it's optimistic, right? It's an optimistic outlook, right? When you trade down here, and I'm saying, people are calling for perfect 60K retest, dropping back into the weekly demand, all these other levels that people have marked out, and I'm kind of going against the grain here and saying, guys, there's a very clear measured move down using the 2024 value area highs confluence. Let's see if we can get first the first test, best test reaction, and then secondly, get a more uniform kind of constructive move down here, show some relative strength against the ES. And this is all well documented on the timeline and streams and everything like that. We talked about this kind of endlessly. So when I was saying this, no one had any issue with me calling for a range because I'm saying something generally optimistic. I'm saying we're front running perfect retest. We're going to be more bullish here. We're showing relative strength. We're not going to break down. This is a place to be bullish, right? When I say the exact same thing at the highs, it's like demonized. Like, what are you talking about, bro? Why would you ever call this a range? Why would you ever call this whatever? That's just kind of been my base case that I've been using this entire cycle. What is the meta this cycle? What have we established this cycle that has been different from all the other cycles, right? If you believe in cycle theory, we mark up, we consolidate, we mark up, consolidate, mark up, we consolidate, right? We're not having these old, school 40, 50% Bitcoin corrections. We're not getting flash crashes. We're getting consolidated price action and then catalysts to break us out, right? So I'm just using the exact same thing that the market has deemed to be the meta this cycle to build my framework. That being said, when we're trading down here, I kind of said the same thing. I was like, this could end up being that 8-month, 9-month range, trading up at the highs. I'm saying the same kind of thing is like, what is our current reason to get people to buy hand over foot spot Bitcoin? They have to, like, besides Sailor, because that guy's going to buy it any price, it doesn't matter. But the generalized audience, right, is what's going to get people to buy hand over foot spot and say, I need to top blast 114K today. Usually it's easier to get people to do that when there's something on the horizon. Hey, X, Y, and Z catalyst is coming 2 months from now. I need to be positioned for this. The top is likely going to be in 2 or 3 months. It's a lot easier of a mentality to get people to top blast. And it's a little bit harder to get people to do that when you don't have that event kind of on the horizon. So that's my take. Everyone's going to have a different take in this market. On the upside of this rally, when we're trending up, I really thought that 95, 96K was going to provide us a significant amount of resistance. Like, I didn't think that we're going to blast all-time highs. I had to pivot really hard on this move right here, right? I had de-risked pretty much everything in this consolidation. And then when we started breaking back into our February composite value area, I pivoted really hard and started sending some altcoins like Virtuals, which did like a 50-60% move like the next day, Bonk, Sui, all these other coins. So yeah, I mean, long story, long ramble short, right? That's the way I see it. You're free to see it the way that you want to see it. Coming into someone's comments or coming into another trader's comments and being like, this is cope, this is this is that, is just kind of blatantly disrespectful. We all see things in different ways. You have your right to see things your way. I have the right to see things my way. More power to the both of us. Do you ever set limit orders in these areas? Daily 200, weekly 200, wait for reaction? I rarely set limit orders now. I'd say like less than 5% of my trades are executed with limit orders nowadays. Funny enough, I actually did take one this morning that was a limit order, but that's pretty rare for me. I'm usually more of a wait and see kind of guy. Wait for price to get to my level, watch the reaction, and then, execute on low time frames or stuff like that. A lot of times I'm market ordering or lately limit chasing and stuff like that, but I don't really usually blindly set orders in locations unless it's pretty decently far from price. So let me give you an example of a scenario where I would limit order. Say my classic bread and butter trending setup, right, on the 4-hour time frame. Let's say we have an order block right here, right? Price did something like this, it broke out, we have got the 4-hour trend, right? We've got our demand block, price is trading up here. I may set limit orders at this demand block, right? Because a lot of times you're going to get a first test, best test reaction. Even if you don't get, continuation of new highs off this move, a lot of times you will get a pretty sharp, good reaction off this level, right? And since they're 4-hour charts, I could be sleeping, I could be away from the desk. I will set limit orders in this scenario, but very rarely am I doing that on my day-to-day trading. I really just market order on intraday and stuff like that. Are we done with the Bitcoin outlook? Have I missed anything? Let me make sure I haven't missed anything before we continue. Now, I'm just putting this out here again. We all want to be bulls. I'm a bull at heart. I don't ever want to really be bearish. I do think this market's going to go higher. I just think the time frame that we're in maybe not suitable for big breakouts. Again, I'm not calling for this, but I will want to be hyper bullish. I'll be the most bullish guy in your timeline if we do inevitably drop back into the 88s, right? For me, this is just, it's textbook bread and butter type of setup for continuation. Ignore that this is a weekly chart. If this is a 4-hour chart, 1-hour chart, whatever, I'd be taking or looking for the same setup. Obviously, you know, there's going to be a level right here. Obviously, we can use the weekly trend confluence, which is creeping up higher and higher and higher. So, you know, the more this consolidates up here, maybe I don't even get this fill. But if it did happen, I would want to swing for the fences in this location, because I'm pretty confident we're not trading below this. I'm pretty confident we trade much higher before we ever worry about this this bottom. This bottom was set with so much confidence by Bitcoin bulls, being is that the S&P 500 nuked 22% over the course of like a week, I believe, right? You can correct me if I'm wrong on that. But it nuked so goddamn hard. And seeing the resilience that Bitcoin put in at this low, I have an almost impossible time picturing that we trade below this low. Therefore, any pullbacks into high time frame levels, being as like demand, or if you want to call this a breaker, there's going to be some semantics here over, you know, price action enthusiasts on what to call it, a breaker or demand, but it doesn't really matter. If there is a move into 88 for whatever reason, right? Not predicting, just telling you that this would be a game plan for me. I would want to be hyper fucking bullish at this level on high time frame. So just plans. Let me tell you this also. My job as a trader, right? What I do, like most of my day sitting at the desk, is think about plans that never come to fruition. I'm just sitting out here being like, if this happens, this is how I'll react. If this happens, this is how I'll react. If this happens, I'm going to have to cut this position. If this happens, I'm going to pick up this position. If this happens, I'm going to move my coins from this position to this one, right? I'm just thinking about these things all the time, so I don't want the market to surprise me. And maybe like 99% of the things I think of never play out. But, you know, in the one case or one chance they do, I'm kind of prepared with a somewhat of a game plan for that scenario. So this is just one that I'm throwing out there. Not trying to, you know, fucking scare the hose or whatever you guys are talking about. I think that's it for Bitcoin. We'll move into alts, ETH, Solana, pairs, and everything like that in a few minutes. Actually, let's get caught up with chat. And then what I do want to do is take you guys through. I've been teasing this for a little bit right after I get caught up with chat. But Bonkbot has been the stream sponsor for a little bit. And they're finally ready to release to the public what they've been cooking. So I wanted to walk you guys through that. TLDR, they made a web terminal to go alongside their trading bot. So when I think of Bonkbot, I always think of like the Telegram bot and stuff like that. And me personally, being a guy that's always wanting to work at the desk, like I don't really vibe with the trading bot stuff. So the fact that they made a web terminal, which I'll take you guys through in a few minutes, I think it's pretty sick. So all right, question from Ape. Do you mainly sit on cash and wait for trading opportunities to print, or do you hold spot coins and hedge out risk when you see weakness? Okay, so my goal as a trader, I could define myself. People define me as like a trend trader, but I don't think that's extremely viable anymore. Like, I'd say over the last 12 to 18 months, I don't think that is the perfect description of me anymore. I think if I describe myself, I'm more of a positional trader and an intraday trader. That's where I'm making the most of my money, right? I think trend trades are few and in between, right? When we get very clean markup out of consolidation moments on the coins, it allows for so many beautiful trend trade opportunities. When we're stuck in these long-standing consolidations, it's not really the best environment for me to trade trends. I love, intraday trading and mean reverting and stuff like that. And the other thing that I love to do is positioning on high time frame and altcoins when I start to believe that, hey, Bitcoin is in an environment where we could push really hard, right? And in that case, I don't really want that, spot Bitcoin exposure. I usually tend to get spot altcoin exposure and be really, really, really heavily exposed to spot alts. So you guys probably know that, like, I, was long as fuck PEPE for like 2 or 3 years from a positional point of view, trading around my main stack, right? Basically de-risking on trend losses when we're in price discovery, rebuying accumulation ranges when things break down. So yeah, to answer your question directly, I don't hedge out risk. I just TP, right? I'm not the guy that is going to take my, long exposure and then go delta neutral by being net short on the perp side. And I'm not doing all that. I'd rather just take profits, right? I'd rather just take profits, sit in stables, and try to rebuy when I think there's big expansionary opportunity. Are you taking swings on alts, or is it just intraday? I'm basically just trading Bitcoin intraday, man. I'm I'm not even intraday trading alts. I think Bitcoin's the cleanest flow and has the most data surrounding it to allow you to make like really high EV bets around it. Look at the pair charts. Yeah, look at that. Perhaps I was a bit rude, but I think framing a 40% trending move with no pullbacks cannot be framed as a range unless you consider everything a range. But I guess I hear your point. I don't consider everything a range. I mean, would you consider this a range? Right? I would. Right? I mean, I was calling this a range, right? These are 20, 30% moves as well, right? 31%. Yes, this is 40 or 50, right? It's massive, huge, of course, right? Would you consider this a range though? Would you consider, like, what? It's all semantics. Who cares what you call it, right? I could call it a jelly donut. It doesn't matter what we call it. Just the framework that I'm talking about, that I personally did not have the confidence we're trading up here that we are just going to God candle to 130, 140. I would think that something like this is more natural, right? How far we pull back, it doesn't have to go down to here. It could be shallow. It could be whatever. Things can change on a dime, you know? Do you think the tariff situation resolving could be a good enough catalyst? I don't know, man. I'm not smart when it comes to macro, so let's just ignore that conversation because it's just going to lead to me speculating on things that I don't know too much about. How's cooking the Europor level to level mateys not you? Yeah, no worries, bro. I don't take shit personally anyways. Give 101.4 and send it. That's not a bad level. Just got here. Have you looked at alts yet? Not yet. Can you please explain today's trade at New York Open? Yeah, I could do that. I don't really ever talk about that stuff, but you know what? Why not? We could talk about it. Maybe I'll do a thread on CT too. I feel like, you know, I've been low on the education on the CT side for a while. Hype can push one more time to all-time highs until summer. I'll get into hype in a minute. We'll do everything together. Are you going to talk about PEPE? Yeah. Terminal like in Silico? Yeah. So let's pull that up. Let me see if I can, let me get set up. See if I can pull this up on stream without doxing all my shit. I don't think I have my wallet hooked up to this, so let's give it a try. Give me a second, boys. I think we're good. I think we're good. I think we're good. All right. Let's see if I can pull this up. Brave. Sick. All right, we got it. I'm not a fucking noob when it comes to stuff. Thank God. All right, so this is basically what you're gonna see when you pull up Bonkbot's new homepage. I think it's pretty cool. Now, one thing that I've been saying on the timeline for a bit is like, I think one of the leaks in my game or things that I've fucked up this cycle is not paying attention enough on chain. I think the majority of the gains this cycle have been on chain runners, and even like something like PEPE, which was my like biggest play of the cycle, I didn't catch till 100 million market cap when it got listed on exchanges like MEXC and stuff. So it's probably something that I should be paying a lot more attention to. And I think with like a web terminal to go along with on-chain trading, it's going to be a lot more familiar for me to just pull up charts and stuff like that. I'm not a big fan of the Telegram stuff, and I know some of you guys are. Like, I think back to like the Unibot days of where people were trading a lot on like Telegram bots. Even I like toyed around with it. But seeing something like this is much cooler to me. So you guys can see like the main page here. Everything's coming in at like hyper speed with all the launches, like new creations just being launched, about to graduate and stuff like that. And the thing that's really cool is like if you wanted to trade on Telegram, you could do that. If you wanted to trade on the web terminal, you could do that. You have basically one wallet that's connected between both things. And what the team has been like, you know, anytime I talk to them, the thing that they're most hyped about is they're like basically their security. Now I'm not a Giga nerd, so I'll probably bring, if you guys know Jim, I'll probably bring Jim on stream one day to help him like talk about some of the security stuff, because I don't want to talk about things that I don't know well about, but they're hyper confident that they have like the best security for on-chain trading, and like wallet safety and everything like that. So you can set up like 2FA and get everything like super fucking tightened up. But as you guys can see, like the UX UI is pretty sick. Click on any coin here. So like, what should we do? What should we look at? Right? Should we pull up one of these or do something? Oh, this is a Trump coin, but like it doesn't really matter. But like anytime when you pull up this something, whenever you pull up something, you guys will get the charts. You guys will get your executions, your orders, your limits, and everything like that can go in here. I don't know if this is the right coin though. Let's go for something like this. Let's just find something brand new, right? Another thing that's cool, actually I'm going to go back before I say this, like you can see how much the top 10 holders are holding. You can see how much the devs are holding. You can see what the holder count is like live, like literally live updated. You guys can see this ticking around right here in the 400s. So I think all this stuff is pretty cool. I personally have never seen anything like this before. So I think there'll be an edge, like anything that's like trading related. So the way that I like frame this in my mind is like I would say 2022 going on 2023, there were a few trend traders out there like Pierre and stuff like that. But the more and more normalized things get, the more and more the field learns about all these edges, the less and less edge there actually is. Like there's a big edge erosion in crypto when everyone learns about the same mechanics. So the more things you could use to benefit you as a trader that other people are not using are only going to help you be more profitable, especially early on, right? Eventually the markets will catch on and everyone will have these things, but it's pretty cool to see like Bonkbot leading the way with a lot of stuff in this. But other stuff you could do, like wallet trackers and stuff, track people's wallets, add wallets that you want. I think I don't have it right now on my computer, but Bonkbot already has like a list of 145 like KOL wallets like that they can just give to you. So you can input a bunch of people who are already like well-known like on-chain traders and add their wallets in here and see what they're doing, kind of sleuth around and seeing if they're like buying stuff or deving things or bundling coins and stuff like that. I think that shit's pretty cool, but we're gonna leave it there for Bonkbot. I don't want to turn this entire stream into like a long ad, but you know I've been teasing this for a couple weeks now, and I thought I would give you guys a behind the scenes like look about what they're building. So we'll keep up with Bonkbot, and I'll talk about it next week again. Doc Schilling Turbo Shitters live. Facts, bro. I'm gonna turn into a pump fund jockey soon. Thread would be a great thing. Yeah, I want to kind of do that. Tax in US, do we get taxed after we hit the sell button in every trade, or is it after we move to a bank account? It's every trade, brother. Every trade gets taxed. Every trade is a taxable event. I think the 100K region gets defended quite strong, at least on first step, but obviously could get exhausted eventually, similar to 60K last summer. Yeah, I mean, think of all the strong ass counter trend rallies that we had last summer, right? Like, I mean, the difference is that a lot of these sell-offs last summer had to do with FUD. Like they weren't like, you know, FUD-less sell-offs, right? This was the war in the Middle East. This was Germany selling. This was our kind of like Japan yen carry trade nuke. I forgot what this was, like equities, I think correcting 10% or more. So there was a lot of like FUD and resilience that Bitcoin showed at the lows last summer. This year we had obviously our big tariff one, which was massive. I think that's like the biggest TradFi like bearish event that we've had in years. So not for nothing. I don't think that we're going to get bottom barrel prices without FUD. I don't think like you're going to get 70K, 80K without FUD, right? So if I'm saying something like this, it's hard for me to believe that bulls are just going to trample over one another the entire way down here. I think kind of the resilience that we showed right here will kind of be seared in some people's minds, and to be willing to bid a little bit higher versus waiting for bottom barrel prices. But as everything, all healthy trends are spot supported. Our spot bid was like insatiable during this rally. The passive side, the books were strong. The spot bid was strong. Like, the retests were shallow. There were no liquidity sweeps. Like, all of like our triggers that we look for trend continuation, a lot of them were being front run. So you have to get in on, like, you know, maybe your breakdowns don't hit your bids. You get reclaims and you have to long a little bit higher. I know that happened to me several times during this rally. I'm new to crypto. Do you think it's worth getting into now? I will say about crypto, I think it's the most level playing field for participants to make a lot of wealth in a short amount of time, and it all depends on, you know, hard work, your skill set, how much you're willing to kind of put in the repeated effort. A lot of resources and tools that could get you good are available for free online. I know a lot of the education that I built my foundation was built, you know, on the free side of things, like people's streams, like this stream right here. I'm sure you could learn some stuff from me. That's probably why there's a lot of you guys in here trying to learn a thing or two, right? I did a lot of that with Magus' streams, Exo streams, so on and so forth. So I don't think it's too late. I think maybe it's, you know, if you buy Bitcoin at 100K, well, if it go to $1 million and flip gold, like that's a 10x. That's probably still going to outperform the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ. And if you don't believe that Bitcoin's going to flip gold, I think, like, what are you even doing here, right? At the base, we all have to be a little bit bullish on Bitcoin to even be here in the beginning. So I don't think you're like late. I don't think you're early, but I don't think you're like too late to extract value from this space. How much for tax in crypto in the US? It all depends on your income, like what income tax bracket you're in, how much money you made. You get taxed more the more money you make. And then there's things like state income tax, and there's tax loopholes, and there's like, there's no one answer here. What I can tell you, if you did like zero tax planning, right, like me in 2024, and you make over a certain amount of money and hit like the highest tax bracket, and you live in a state with high income taxes like California, you're getting taxed 51% of your yearly earnings, which is what I paid. So be smart. The carry trade thing was, wait, what am I recently found out you're in a paid group with Carl the Moon. Facts, bro. Facts. The carry trade thing was mental, walking up to 50K BTC. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I was in Europe for that one. That one was fucking wild. What should people do in the US to help with taxes or an app? I've never been at trading. Bro, I don't think this is a place to talk about taxes, to be honest. There are definitely a lot of apps out there. I used a few for my taxes in 2024 to help out. I'm 24 and I think I want to leave finance and study medicine. Why was it the other way around with you? It's just about, I mean, you're saying it because you're probably passionate about it. You're passionate about medicine. You want to go that direction. More power to you, man. I was more passionate about finance than medicine, and I just went this way. Simple as that, you know. I could give you a 10-minute story, or we could keep it there. I think we're going to keep it there because a lot of people have heard me talking about this a lot. For positional trading, do you build positions or enter your entire size? It depends, man. I think there's been a few times where I full stack the entry, and there's plenty of times where I build the position. So like one of the best examples, we could probably just move over to alts anyways now. Been long enough. One of the best examples is like PEPE last summer, right? A lot of my re-entries after selling, I think I bought like 4 separate times to get the size that I wanted. Where was I think I missed the bottom for sure because I was in Europe. I bought the pullback, so it's like purchase number 1. I don't know where purchase number 2 was. Neither one of them were Pico bottom. Both of them were somewhere in here. Number 3, I remember missing this rally and kind of just being like, I'm not going to chase this. I think it'll pull back. It pulled back. I got number 3. Number 4 was right around the election when You guys remember I was like pretty bullish on AAVE last summer. Some of you guys might remember, but right around the election time, I full stack exited my AAVE, which was like 4x up from the lows, and just slammed that into PEPE. So that was like the 4th or 5th entry. So yeah, it was building a position throughout this accumulation range. None of the entries were perfect. I didn't snipe any Pico bottoms anywhere in here. The average entry, I don't remember what it ended up being, like 8 cents or something like that, 8 or 9. Before this breakout, right? But basically just taking advantage of understanding that momentum to the downside has waned. Bears are no longer in control. Price is flattening out. We found support. We're going sideways. Dips are for buying. That's the environment that I want to like stack into positions, right? So I'm looking at PEPE here now. And do I know with full confidence if this level is going to hold here, which is really damn clean, right? Confluence with the March 24 all-time high. You guys can, just bird's eye view, scan across this and see that it's a pretty nice support resistance level combined with a weekly trend. Now, we haven't gotten a bullish cross on the weekly trend yet, but nonetheless, we are trading into those like weekly levels, right? We have bullish market structure. We haven't fully retraced this. This is still a viable higher high, higher low uptrend. This could be a prime pullback, right? If Bitcoin's going to hold off here, round off here, and push into new highs, stuff like these PEPE retests are going to look obvious in hindsight. So I did pick up PEPE myself over the weekend, down at these lows when we tagged the weekly trend. Again, that wasn't like a picture perfect ideal snipe Pico bottom entry, but I would be shooting myself in the foot if this all resolved bullishly from here and I didn't take the opportunity to bid a perfect retest. Now, my gut tells me that this probably isn't the Pico bottom, that we do kind of trade back into here a little bit. But nonetheless, this is a very clean setup, very clean invalidation, very clean risk parameters. So I took the opportunity to buy some PEPE here. And just kind of hope for the best, right? Take the trades that feel uncomfortable, kind of hope for the best. Clear-cut invalidations if I'm wrong, right? Won't be a big loss or anything like that. And where would I, stack and add to these positions? Probably like a reclaim, right? So if we take kind of like a range from these values right here, I'm gonna use the volume profile because it's much easier. Right, and we start reclaiming into these levels, right, which be reclaiming the daily trend, reclaiming the point of breakdown, reclaiming the composite value area low, right, and we start pulling back up into here. I would probably add some to the position, right? I would probably say, okay, PEPE looks really strong. This printed a deviation below the lows. We tagged the weekly trend. We got a perfect retest on the high time frame. We've reclaimed the daily. We're back in our composite value. We've taken back the point of breakdown. Like, all of these things are very bullish. My trailing invalidation from here was just don't drop back below, right? So I can tighten up the invalidations as well, right? Trail them out as price goes higher, the same way that you would with any trending environment, right? So if you look at something like, let me give you an example from a educational perspective, like FARTCOIN, right? You could be doing this as a trend trader the entire way up, bidding off the daily, bidding off the daily, bidding off the daily, and every time, it doesn't matter if your entry's down here, you can trail yourself out and say, okay, well, my trailing invalidations is trend loss, my trailing invalidation is trend loss, my trailing invalidation is trend loss, and eventually you get that, you end up exiting a lot closer to the top than you would down here, right? So same kind of thesis here on PEPE is like, you want to hope for the best, but if the market leader like this on FARTCOIN is breaking down, losing the daily trends, it's going to be a little bit more corrective. It's going to be a little bit more choppy unless you get these V-shaped recoveries. And bidding off of these kind of lows right here, you are kind of just bidding for the best case scenario that we do V-shaped recover. Because we don't V-shaped recover and we just consolidate here, it could drop a little bit lower, which just provides opportunity, right? Since we don't know and we can't predict, we take the best trades available, hope for the best, have really strong invalidation, so on and so forth. Now I'm just rambling. Did you hear about stocks coming to Kraken? Yeah, I've heard about that. That's pretty cool, man. Stocks are on Bybit? Are they? That would be news to me if they were. Because I trade on Bybit like every day. So if I didn't know that, that's kind of weird. I'll look later. Am I wasting you guys' time right now? Looks like mid-range and a bigger range. I can see that. You're talking about PEPE. I can see that definitely for sure. But here's my take on PEPE, right? Now, I haven't been bull posting PEPE for any of this rally because I've frankly been sidelined on this. I didn't have any PEPE exposure. I really wanted to on this retest right here. I never got the entry before this God candled up, right? Reclaim and it just God sent. I got the entry on Bonk. Because yeah, this was the retest. Like Bonk looked cleaner to me, right? Perfect SR, perfect daily trend. This was my entry on Bonk, and I missed the one on Pepe. Pepe, you know, completely outperformed, and it's a little bit sad for me. I didn't catch any of this kind of goddamn rally. But the thing here with Pepe that caught me by surprise is how much strength it once again had off the back of ETH just putting in anything. ETH putting in any kind of strength over Bitcoin just turbo sent Pepe, which to me provides opportunity and like a trade thesis here. Now, I don't know if the ETHBTC bottom is in, but it's kind of hard to just be like, yeah, we're just going to break through the support and just ETHBTC is going to zero. This is a full retrace, right? I think there was opportunities along this way for like checkpoints and saying maybe something bullish can form here, right? At these lows, maybe something bullish can form, maybe something bullish can form. Now we fully retraced. We're all the way back down to range lows in my opinion, right? So if something constructive forms on ETHBTC here for the rest of the cycle to close out the cycle, even if it's not much, right? Let's say even if it's just a push into here, forget all-time highs. And ETHBTC is strong. I mean, Pepe is probably going to go God mode, right? Like we've seen indications of that, which makes me say that like, if I want to bet on ETH, if I want to bet on ETHBTC, if anything, I'm just going to take the Pepe trade again, right? Which is not something I expected. When this fully retraced all the way back down to like square one and took out these lows and everything like that, I was like, that's a pretty fucking terrible high time frame structure. Like I wanted this to set higher lows. I want to see a higher set accumulation range. I don't want to see this full retrace. This is looking like high time frame weakness to me, but the fact the market turbo bid this off the back of just some ETHBTC strength, I think is very notable and something we can't ignore. You buy these tokens spot on chain or just spot on SEX? Depends. Depends where my money's sitting. If it's sitting on a decentralized exchange, I'll just use that to execute. If I'm sitting in my, you know, my wallets, I can go on chain and execute. Last year we had the return of GCR. Now we have Prime James Wynn asking for donos. Dude, that's a wild story. It's so sad because I wanted to believe in it. Like I just wanted this degenerate to win. Right? More than anything, like I just want people to win in this industry. I've been the guy before, like along my journey and been like, why is this idiot making money? This guy's so stupid. This guy, whatever. Now I just, you know, want to put good vibes out into the world. I want to see people win. I don't really care, right? So when he had that, you know, 60 mil or 80 mil or whatever it was, I'm like, bro, I want to see this guy win. Let's get fucking Dip Wheeler and you know, Bonk Guy and James Wynn trending globally. Fuck it, bro. Like, let's make these guys billionaires. It's so sad to see this dude just wiped out his entire net worth in like a micro range on Bitcoin. Like, how hard is this to watch? This is where, like, he ran it up from what, 6 mil to 80 mil during this trend and lost it all here? Dude, that's just unfathomable. There's nothing else to say. How come you didn't take the Bitcoin first daily trend retest? Jaggers, did you join the stream a little bit late? I kind of actually did talk about that. So my discretionary take on Bitcoin here was that since we did not test the daily trend during this uptrend, I'm not going to give it the most importance to hold up here, right? Which is why I didn't long at the H4 100. We can get into the intraday trade that I took this morning. That's kind of just where I trade anyways. So I'll get to that in a minute. Did you enter Pepe at the weekly trend? Yeah. Is anyone looking for the next Hyperliquid farm? Yo, don't chill. Actually, do whatever you want. What do I care? Screw taxes. I agree, bro. Screw taxes. Fucking theft. Michael, I also overpay my taxes. Yes, I paid you guys extra. Please give me money back on my fucking tax return. What's your target for Pepe? So my target since 2023 has been the SHIB flippening. This has been my target. This is something that I probably should have more clout for, but who gives a shit? I've been calling for this flipping since the Pico bottom of like the beginning of the origin of this coin, right? So my cycle target for PEPE was just simply flipping SHIB. I don't care what market cap that happens at. I don't care what ranking that happens at. I think that is PEPE kind of thesis being complete, right? Of achieving the #1 meme coin besides, you know, Dogecoin, right? Dogecoin probably has a little bit more, what's the word I'm looking for? Just, you know, seniority. I don't, there's a word starts with a P that I'm looking for. I can't remember. But I think flipping SHIB was a really good target. So what I did for my trade right here was just close it out because this was within 40% of my target and I really did not want a round trip. And I basically closed out the entirety of my PEPE position in December of last year, right before my move across the country, got a new house and all that kind of stuff. Wanted to be a responsible adult. And, you know, I didn't even know at the time if the top was in or whatever. I just kind of did what was best for me and it kind of, you know, worked out. But yeah, my target would be just flipping SHIB, right? I think once this happens, probably the meat of the move is just over, right? And anything from there is maybe we get some crazy altcoin mania that takes us higher, but this is like, I think, thesis complete for me on PEPE. Did you do FARTCOIN? Yeah, I haven't really done Provenance, that's the word. Thank you, Michael. TA on silver as an old man with a lot of silver. Do you actually have a lot of silver? All right. #1 TA trader, Doc XBT. Thoughts on silver. Okay, so what we're going to do here, guys, #1, we go into our toolkit. We find the arrow, right? We start it from current price, and then we do this. And then make it green for extra luck. There's our silver TA. Subscribe, like, comment for more alpha like this. Why do you own silver, bro? You own Bitcoin. Why are we wasting time with silver? Okay, let's go through some alts. You know what's crazy is the stream kind of woke me up. I was not feeling good this morning. So let's start with Solana. So Solana, in my opinion, absolute weakest of the majors. You know, ETH is stronger than Solana right now. Bitcoin's stronger than Solana right now. The ETHBTC, or excuse me, the Sol BTC pair does not look that good. Yes, it's coming back in a high time frame support. We hope, for the sake of the market, we want everything to be strong. We hope this level holds on Sol BTC. Anything below this, man, it's really going to start looking like ETHBTC, right? This is support until proven otherwise. This could be the start of kind of trend reversal, being as that this was a low. This could end up being a higher low. But we cannot deny the kind of overall weakness that Solana is displaying versus the market. Now in high time frame on the weekly chart, we're coming back in a weekly demand, right? So on the way up, this weekly demand, dropping back into it, we set a low. A really clean trigger for reversal would be if this week closes an SFP into demand. Right, so if we run this low sometimes this week underneath 150, we close above here, that would be a really clean SFP into demand, and we could try to speculate on that being the bottom and look for continuation on a trend-based perspective underneath the daily, underneath the weekly. You know, this is daily trend loss. Look how beautiful the daily trend is on Solana, right? This is highly respected. You guys saw me talking about Solana the entire way up here, below the daily trend. Doesn't look as great. Below the weekly trend as well, does not look that great. So we're hoping for the best here, and this will end up being a bottom if Bitcoin ends up holding right here, right? So it all depends on that, and what's in Bitcoin's way, like we talked about at the top of the stream, 105, 106, right? Local composite value area high, confluence of the 4-hour trend, holding above 105, 106, probably going to give Bitcoin a really nice pop, in my opinion, all the way back up to like 109, 110. So Solana will just get carried up with it in that circumstance. Locally speaking, again, 4-hour trends. I tweeted this yesterday. It's just like, you know, it's 4-hour trend special. Basically, everything is stuck underneath a 4-hour trend. Moving on to ETH, this is mind-blowingly strong. Anytime I haven't taken an ETH trade in a while just because it keeps front-running a lot of the levels that I want to work with. It's just, you know, trading really cleanly in a range. This was the cleanest trigger on ETH recent times, which would be trading outside of the value, holding above composite value area high, holding the 4-hour trend, equal highs above, right? Not a trade that I took, so I'm not going to LARP and tell you that I took this trade, but I took something else on this day. I can't remember what. I don't even remember what it was. Maybe it was FARTCOIN, maybe it was Solana. I can't remember what trade. I took something else over here instead of ETH. I wish I took in the ETH trade. Plans that I made going into this week are like the doodles here, right? Bunch of stacked lows, composite value area low. Didn't even tag the value area low today. Didn't give me a trigger to long on ETH, but if we did, I would be taking this long here, invalidation holding below, target back towards composite value area highs in February CVA, right? So those would be the plans. Holding below, trading below, holding below is a short trigger. I'm not going to short. You guys know I don't ever short, right? Maybe like 2-3 times a year, but this would be a really nice short continuation trade with invalidation holding back inside of value, right? Aim for 2270 and 2000 kind of flat. Very, very, very simple plans. This thing is showing an unreasonable amount of strength, I'm sure some of you guys out there, like myself, is looking at this and going, is this PTSD or is this the start of a new paradigm? I don't really know. What I will say, though, ETHBTC is holding itself really well so far on the daily trend, right? So this is like months and months and months and months of not being able to hold the daily trend, right? So it's just like every time we kind of get above this, we fail, we break down lower, we fail, we break down lower. So we're in one of those situations right now, once again, where we are holding this. Will this lead to a constructive uptrend? Will it fail again? I don't really know. What I will tell you is that we're trading into the weekly, right? So we have not been able to break the weekly in any meaningful way since basically the merge. And we're once again bonking our head at the weekly here. So what would be more constructive for a bottom signal for me is if ETHBTC can just go sideways for a little bit, right? It doesn't need to go higher. It doesn't need to go lower. As long as it starts just going sideways for a little bit down here at range lows, I do think a reversal is in the cards. And this type of reversal in the cards on ETHBTC, as you guys know, is going to put a lot of pressure on Bitcoin dominance, right? The biggest counterparty to Bitcoin dominance is Ethereum, right? Second largest market cap in the industry. If ETH starts outcompeting and beating Bitcoin, wherever this ends up is probably going to roll over, is going to give you a very legitimate risk on moment for the markets, right? This is the best we've had this cycle, right? It's just this, right? This is like nothing. And you guys saw how much your altcoins flew in this environment, how much PEPE flew, and all these other things in the market just absolutely ripped in a short 2-3 week span just because of this move right here. So we want to cheer on ETH. We want the best for ETH because ultimately we'll all make a lot more money if ETH is strong. Like, that's end of story. Silver isn't for growth. It's like a stable coin to keep pace with inflation. Brother, it's not keeping pace with inflation. Is it? There's no way silver is beating inflation. All right, where did our money printing start? In 2020? So what is this up? Almost 2x? Okay, maybe. Maybe it's keeping up with inflation. All right, what did I miss in here? Murad mode. Yo, that's my TA. You know this, bro. I did that just for you, Jingo. Here, I'll do Magus one better. TA on silver. At times like this, I feel old, but Doxa's basically the same age. Yeah, that's wild, man. A lot of people are shocked that I'm old, but you guys got to realize, like, I did a lot of stuff before I came to markets. I lived a whole lot of life before I came here. Can you check CRV? Yeah, of course. So I'm kind of getting distracted by a lot of stuff today. We did Solana, we did ETH, we did PEPE. Let's do FARTCOIN. So here's the thing with FARTCOIN, right? I've had a lot of discussion with like friends and other traders talking about this, is like, which EMA do we respect? Now, what I do is I always default to the full history chart if it's available when it comes to EMAs, right? When it comes to, VWAPs and listing anchors and stuff like that. Anything that's volume based, I want to go to the highest volume charts, which are either going to be Nance Perps or Coinbase, right? They're generally going to have the best flows for anything that's volume based. But anything that's EMA based, which doesn't take volume into consideration, I want the full picture, right? So I want the full price history if it's available. So if we look at Nance Perps here, it would seem that we're just holding the weekly trend, right? The daily 100, because there's not a lot of price history. But if we take in the full price history into consideration, the weekly trend forms a lot earlier, gets influenced by a lot of this price action, and is a lot lower. So my hope, as someone currently not long FARTCOIN, closed my position on daily trend loss, my hope is that I do get a tag of the full history chart daily 100. Get rid of these doodles here. This may be COPE because this is the strongest coin in the market. Maybe I don't get filled here. But this is significantly like clear, right? This is very clear of a daily trend loss. You know, one of the things that I pride myself on is having the patience to wait for gap fills to form. Sometimes they're quick, sometimes they take longer, sometimes they're choppy, but if there is the opportunity for me to buy at the full fill of this gap, I want to execute down here at 93, between 93 and 73, right? Or 75 or whatever it is, right? I want to execute in the weekly trend to buy back my stack. If that doesn't happen, right, and we reclaim, I'll have to buy back higher, right? I'll just look at this as a reclaim, right? I'll look at the point of breakdown. We'll highlight this. We'll say, okay, we've cleared the 4-hour trend. We've reclaimed the daily. We've reclaimed the point of breakdown. Things look good. I'll just long back up here. I'll end up buying probably back higher than I even sold, right? Which is unfortunate, but at least I did the right thing to manage my risk, right? I want to close positions and trail myself out on daily trend loss. So best case scenario, I get to buy at the weekly. Other case scenario, I buy back higher, right? Where we are right now, it's completely no man's land. I don't ever want to execute no man's land. Now, once again, other people will tell me, Doc, we are ignoring, the Binance chart. And, if the market starts respecting this, I will submit and I will start respecting this as well. It does seem like early data is showing that we are respecting the daily 100 and the Nance Perps chart. So we'll see. Fluid situation. Who is holding these lows on ETH? I don't know, man. We hope for the paradigm shift, though. Send fucking ETH. Send it to 6K. Have you bought any on-chain shitters this time around, bro? I bought this because my homies were, like, bullish on the fucking, what is it, ICM meta. And I was like, why don't I buy the most ridiculous coin there is? Which is Goon Coin. And this thing went to 0. So, unfortunate for me. Did you manage to buy PEPE spot because of ETH strength at the weekly trend? It wasn't to do with ETH strength per se. It's just set up in a really clean way in and of itself, right? It's undeniably clean setup here on PEPE on high time frame, right? I don't really need to look at ETH for this one. I'll basically just bet on the coin when I find a really clean setup and hope for the best and have really strong invalidations in case I'm wrong, right? If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. If I'm right, this will look really, really, really obvious in hindsight, right? That's just the way that trading works, is that when you take good trades, they look really obvious in hindsight and whatever. So it wasn't really based on ETH, but the thesis of like resubmitting to the PEPE narrative in general is based on ETH, right? I kind of put PEPE on the back burner. I was like, I feel like I've done what I needed to do with this trade. I've taken it from basically 0 to $10 billion market cap. We're 40% away from flipping SHIB. I don't want to give away any profits back from this one. I took a trade off of here back in December, right? And I got like a 50% run. I didn't full TP or full stack TP at the top. I round trip some, but this was kind of like if we're going to go higher, it's going to come from the weekly trend. If we lose the weekly trend, this shit's going to 0, right? So that's exactly what happened. I did FARTCOIN. Are we happy? We did FARTCOIN. How old are you? I'm, not young. I'm 30-ish. Ever considered PAX G? So it's just gold, right? I don't really care. I own some physical gold. That's it. I'd rather buy Bitcoin than gold. right? If I'm bullish on Bitcoin and I believe fundamentally that one day Bitcoin flips gold, why would I buy gold? Right? If I believe that Bitcoin's going to flip gold, which I do, right? That's my moon boy thesis. I got to believe in something, right? Everyone believes in something. I believe in that. If I believe that, why would I buy gold? I should be buying Bitcoin, which is what I'm doing. Oh, what about the intraday setup, holding it for CT thread? I can talk about it in a minute. We're just having, like, you know, conversation after conversation after conversation, so we haven't really gotten into this, but yeah, this kind of like flashed on the screen. We'll talk about it in a minute. I'll just keep it here so I don't forget. Prime James win, MAGA Magus. Oh, Jeggers, were you in Paragon? How do you know the MAGA Magus meme? Or is that like a public meme? I don't even know. Send ETH, but let me in first, bro. You got a top blast. You got a top blast so it pulls back for the rest of us. Nah, bro, you up 30% today? Dude, I am, bro. I'm cooking. I'm fucking cooking. We're gonna ignore that I'm down fucking 99%. If you pull up build and tell me anything bullish, I'll rejoin Paragon right now. Nah. We don't want Jingo back if there's fucking circumstances around being around the homies, man. Fuck you, bro. I'm just kidding. I'll look at it in a minute. In case Bitcoin comes to visit the low 90s or 80s, how much deeper of a pullback do you expect on our coins of interest? Sol, ETH, Hype, Pepe. So the way that I teach this, and we're going to get distracted from this again, the way that I always teach this is have levels marked out on the coins that you're interested in, right? Here's a very simple thing, right? Here's my coin, right? FARTCOIN or whatever, right? And I have a level of interest here, right? I think this is support, whether it's order block, SR, EMA, whatever. It doesn't matter, right? Point of interest. Here's another point of interest. Here's another point of interest. Here's another point of interest, right? And then we look at Bitcoin. And we say, okay, Bitcoin is coming to a level where I think it'll bounce. Do I think it's going to be the turbo bottom or local bottom? I have no idea, right? I'm bullish Bitcoin. Where is my altcoin? Is it at this level? Is it at this level? Is it at this level? It doesn't matter, right? All you're really doing is looking for confluence, right? So you just make plans on the coin that you're interested in. You say X, Y, Z, right? And then you look at Bitcoin, and if you get bullish on Bitcoin and expect Bitcoin to bounce from here, cross-reference your alts and you'll have levels prepared, right? So if I give you an example on something like Pepe, if Bitcoin breaks down from here, right? If Bitcoin breaks down from here and it drops into the 90s, if it does, altcoins are going to pull back with it. What's the next level for Pepe from here? It's probably like 90, right? So this would be the next level that I'd be looking for and say like, okay, is Bitcoin bottom from here? Pepe's at a level. What can we do from this? What can we find? Is there a trigger here? Are we selling off? Is the volume high? Whatever, right? We'll just be looking for ideas. We don't know and we can't predict, but we can just make game plans and then try to execute on those game plans when they appear. Something that I said earlier in the stream. My mom wants to buy gold nonstop despite price going higher. I mean, there's nothing going to be wrong with it, right? It's like buying the S&P or the NASDAQ, right? It'll be around. It's not gonna go to zero. Even if you buy the top, you'll be in profit eventually. It's kind of the way that it works. For trend continuation, is it better to okay, let's go back. Let's talk about Bitcoin. Let's talk about the trade that I took this morning. So something that's really nice and that doesn't happen often. So I want to give you guys a little pretext. Something I repeat often in Paragon is we're not always going to get S-tier setups, right? Most of the time, you can have a checklist of I want this, I want this, I want this, right? I want, A, B, C, D, and E, and F, and G to all happen, then I'll take a trigger. That's not reality. That's not trading. You're not going to get S-tier setups every day. You're going to get them once in a while. So when I teach stuff, I often teach them through the scope of like S-tier setups. And then in reality, you recognize that you're not going to get everything on your side every single day. So Today was one of those rare days where we had multiple levels of confluence. All-time high point of breakdown. I've explained this numerous times on streams. If you guys are familiar with the streams, you know exactly what I'm talking about, right? That's a level of interest for us on high time frame. On medium time frame, we have a little bit of a crab forming, right? From Thursday all the way to Monday, so multi-day composite forming here. Monday morning, we're trading into our composite value area low, confluent with the all-time high POB, right? What are we doing here on low time frame? Do we have any confluence? Yes, we do. We've got a bunch of people longing into New York Open, right? Is that the most brilliant idea ever after, you know, nothing happening on the weekend? Do you want to be the first person to take a position on Monday morning with New York Open? Probably not. So what is a little bit of game theory here? Shout out Magus. He's in chat. He's talked about this setup a bunch of times. So I hope I'm not like leaking some of his, you know, gigabrain thoughts, but a pattern that he's put on my radar that I've used several times now is just kind of waiting for people who think they're longing the lows to get a little bit comfortable, running their stops, or, you know, basically putting them under pressure after they see the reaction that they want. So if you're long from here, and you see kind of like a higher high form, what's natural for your brain to do? Okay, yeah, we put in a higher high, I got the reaction I want, stops to break even, stops at the lows, whatever. You're hyper longing into New York Open. We're flushing some of these people, right? That's the reaction that I want. I want to see people get out of their positions aberrantly, like if they position off New York Open or whatever like that. And we got the confluence in the low time frame, being that the 2 standard deviation value area low is in play. We're knocking out their positions. We got higher volume coming in, right? This is a position where I want to take advantage and long, right? Once people that have positioned pre-New York Open get stopped out, then I think the proper move's coming, right? And then it becomes as simple as anytime you're wanting to mean revert off 2 standard deviation value area low, you're just simply looking to take that trade back into the daily VWAP. The nice confluence that we had here for low time frame, medium time frame is both of our entry triggers were lining up in the same location, and both of our take profit triggers were lining up in the same location, right? You know, we got our daily VWAP here, which is the end of your reversion. You're taking price from being at an extreme discount to fair value on the day. And then the hourly trend, which has served to be respected by price action over the weekend, right? Anytime I look at trends, I'm just basically looking at which trend is being respected by other participants, and then I kind of submit to that. So if I see the daily trend being respected, both as, you know, bulls and bears, I'm looking at this and I'm saying we're probably going to reject in this area. If I get confluence on the medium time frame and the low time frame, that's a place that I want to close my positions. Now, the last piece of the puzzle is if you guys watch the order books, which I'm not going to go through the trouble of pulling up Brave browser again and then pulling that up, but if you guys can want to do this on your own, you know, some people use Trading Light. I don't know if that's working anymore, but I've been using Kiyotaka, which I think is a good substitute. And the books are pretty stacked, right? So anytime you have a strong regime, you want to front run the passive bit. So we have like books stacked pretty strong. Like the skew is pretty strong on 2.5% depth all the way in here, right? So if we see a lot of people with the intention to buy, whether they're spoofs, whether they're not, it doesn't really matter, but strength is front running passive bids, right? So if we got all this passive bid below our, you know, local value area low, and we got it below the 2 standard deviation value low, and we get all these triggers kind of confluence and lining up, and we got the passive bid here, we're basically saying we want to front run these bozos for now, right? So that's basically the trade that we took. Not often, I'd say maybe 1 out of 10 times are you going to get just everything on your side. And the thing that I would say is, like, when you do get S tier setups and you get everything on your side, I think your sizing should be a little bit more discretionary, and you should size up into these because you're not going to get them that often. And if you're wrong, so be it, right? So that's something that I like, you know, take advantage of in my trading is use pretty discretionary sizing as well. Like, it's not very standard. It's not like I'm, you know, every single day betting 1R, 2R, 3R. I don't really have that. Mine's really dynamic based on the setups that I'm seeing and the confidence that I have in them. So this is a bigger size trade for me this morning. Super clean, right? Played out really clean. I'm not long anything right now, but that was the trade. Full stack, spot PEPE. If Bitcoin goes below 100K, invalidation at the April bottom for PEPE. I don't think there's any reason for alts to go lower than they are unless we go bear market mode. That's what I'll say, right? I don't think Bitcoin should drop below 74K at this point. I don't think there's any reason for Bitcoin to drop below 74K unless we're straight up going just like bear market mode. So I think a lot of the lows in the Pico bottom should be protected. I don't think this March low or April low should be tested on Pepe at this point. I think if we came all the way back down, we'll probably hold this range lows around 6 or 7 or whatever this is, 69. Call it 69.42, right? I think that level should hold on Pepe, and we shouldn't really bleed below here, because then it's just full fucking bear market mode, in my opinion. Similar with Solana, I think we should hold like 120s, right? If this fully retraces. On ETH, because it's been so strong, hopefully it'll set a much higher low than the rest of the market and just bleed out to like 2K and stuff like that. That's the way that I see things. His mom is twapping gold. Magus copied that setup from Prime's Jane Wim. Is it better to use value areas of the VWAP or value areas of the fixed range volume profile? I think they both have their use case, but on an intraday basis, anytime I'm trading extremities of value like day trading, I always try to focus on the VWAP, right? If there is confluence on the fixed range volume profile on like a medium time frame, like multi-day composite forming, I'll use that, but not on, I have it on my charts, but I don't really use these, if I'm being honest. I could live without this. I could delete the fixed range volume profile from my daily, because I really want to execute at the extremities. That's all I'll say on that. Yarek, are you the guy that came in the other day on my last stream and was like panicking about a trade that you took and was like, help me? Are you the same dude? Or is this just a common occurrence now? Am I like the customer support? New cycle high on hood. Would you bid here? I fumbled this trade, man. I closed out my hood position way too early. Feel bad about it. Okay, well, it's good to see the doodle working that I also didn't execute on. I did not buy hood here. I closed out my hood position like right in here, like 30, 36. This thing's going way higher. What was your question? New cycle high on hood. Would you bid here? Would I bid up here? No, I definitely wouldn't. Personally, like if you're trading on like a lower time frame and you just kind of want to, I don't. Here's the thing. Here's a little bit of a, something that you guys need to know. I don't have a tried and true system for trading stocks, right? So trend-based systems, order blocks, and all this. I don't have like data and testing because I don't trade stocks, right? I don't, right? So I'm not going to tell you guys that 4-hour trend trades are going to work as well on hood as they do on Bitcoin or shitcoin or something like that. But if I had to just apply the system, all I would say in a lazy form is just continue betting on the 4-hour trend if you want to try to trade strength from here. And invalidate yourself on trend loss. But I personally know I'm not going to be top blasting hood here. Yes, that was you. Oh my god, dude. Hey, let me tell you this, dude. I think I told you the same thing last time. When you're entering a trade, you need to know when you're wrong before entering a trade. Don't just take trades and then go around and be like, I don't know what to do now. It's not working. It's going against me. That's not the way to be profitable. You have to set up your setup. You have to set up your invalidations before you even click execute. You have to know where you're wrong. Thoughts on CHILLHOUSE? What's up, Nexus? I missed your... I think I saw it earlier, but I skimmed past it. CHILLHOUSE. Is that the fucking KOL coin? I don't really have much thoughts. I'm sure there's more data than this on this coin. Yeah, man, I don't really have much to say. I think anytime you're looking at like low caps like this, you basically just wait for it to bottom out. This looks like momentum is slowing to the downside, right? So each drive down is getting a little bit weaker. You're not really driving down lower. You're getting into macro or high time frame support that has been established. You're trading at a discount. You could do simple things. Nexus, you're a good trader. You don't need my help on this kind of stuff, but I don't really have any, extreme value to add other than this obvious just we're coming down to the lows, right? Be bullish at the lows and validate yourself on acceptance below. You don't want to hold a bleeder like this. You know that. So I don't really have much to add there, man. I'm sorry. I'm just joking. All right, I took the bait. All right. I don't think I have much more to add for this stream. We went through everything. I think I kind of want to call it like an earlier stream this week and not go for the full 2 hours because I am getting a little tired now. About like 20 minutes ago, I was feeling more alive, and now I'm feeling like a little bit more tired, running low in energy. Let's see if we can wrap this up with any Bitcoin thoughts or trades and anything like that. Let's get rid of this. Actually, let's leave it there in case I decide to do like an educational thread or something on this. Just a little tidbit for you guys, but always remember, failed bearish momentum is bullish, failed bullish momentum is bearish. So when we're sitting here, the longer we sit here without any kind of bearish follow through, right? And if we get spikes down that are not giving you bearish momentum, those are bullish triggers, right? So on an intraday basis, seeing Bitcoin kind of rounding out in this location right here on a price action basis is just kind of showing you bears don't have the momentum yet on a Monday morning to do anything with price. They don't have the strength to break us down just yet, right? So failed bearish momentum is bullish opportunity. I don't see us God candling through here yet because there are a lot of points of contention, right? Local value area highs and then 4-hour trend. The whole market, I've said this like 4 or 5 times this stream, should recover really, really violently to the upside if we can break through this. If we can break through like 105.5, 106 and start holding above here, I think there's going to be a lot of momentum to the upside. That's my opinion as of this moment. A lot of coins should get really nice recoveries if Bitcoin can break through 105. Are you in KTA? No, dude. You know, who is it? I think it's Finn. I don't know if Magus is still on stream, but I think Finn caught this from like day one, and he was bull posting it in Paragon, and I was like, bro, how did I miss this? This is in my group, and you guys are all catching like 20 and 50 X's. Why am I not in this coin? But shout out to those homies who caught that. I did not catch KTA. Use OI in intraday setups? Yeah, I use it on intraday. I don't use it on intra-week or anything like that. I don't care about OI that much on high time frames. Sometimes I'll look at like pressure points of where a lot of positioning is opened. Right, so something I'll look at sometimes is be like, where's the origin of a lot of this positions opening? Now, the hard part here is knowing if the same people that opened up positions here are still in the trades, or if other people just came in and added to open interest later. So it's not super viable on high time frames. But it's something that I look at, and the longer and longer and further away we get from this, the less and less value it provides, right? So contextual value would be within, you know, a day or two after these, you know, big open interest increases, is seeing like, are those positions still above water? The people that initiated this momentum, are they still comfy? Are they above water? Because if they go underwater, they can unwind their positioning pretty heavily, which is why I think trading based on like 1 minute charts with open interest is highly valuable. And the higher and higher time frame you get, the less valuable it's going to be, because you're getting so far away that other people are just going to be opening up positionings, and you're not going to know what people did anymore. It's just much higher hit rate if you keep it really tight on low time frames. So I don't really use it much on higher time frames, but it's worth looking at sometimes. Have you looked at Hype? I think we did. Did we look at Hype, guys? this is a little bit messy, but one of the setups I was looking at last night was if we can compress over the 4-hour trend, right? And I kind of wanted to see a little bit of strength showed up here. This is a shakeout, but I think from here, like if you wanted to play trend continuation, you are using your high time frame levels of support, right? Demand, daily trend, support is supporting, the compression formed, right? We're setting in higher low, higher low, higher low, so we're pressing into the low time frame trends. Anytime you're looking for compression like this, you don't really want this to form. You don't really want the low time frame to be bullying the high time frame. You want the high time frame to be bullying the low time frame, which really forms like this, setting in higher lows and higher lows and higher lows until you break out. So it's not the cleanest thing right here, but what you're basically betting on is that this structure continues setting higher lows, right? So would I top blast this candle? No. Let's see if there's anything low time frame to work with, right? So on low time frame, this is hindsight, but you could have always been trying to bet on momentum continuation based on the confluence of high time frame, low time frame off of the daily VWAP, right? If you're looking to play momentum to the upside. I don't think this is the highest EV strategy, right? Opening up positions at fair value on like a flat VWAP day. I really don't think that's the best EV. But the context here is just showing you that we're setting in higher lows, we're compressing and breaking through the 4-hour downtrend. The 4-hour trend is flattened out, so flat trends don't give you the same value as trending trends. I don't really know how else to say that. But I don't think the best positioning here is kind of top blasting. I do think that the bias for hyperliquid is trading higher into 35. You ever tried using the volume candle setup on TradingView instead of the volume indicator you're using? I don't know what that means, brother. My brain's not braining. Don't we need retail to come in to help push Bitcoin up or not really? We haven't needed retail this entire cycle for Bitcoin. Most of the Bitcoin bid this cycle has been institutional, all the way back from ETFs going live and stuff like that. A lot of the bid on the Bitcoin side right now is kind of the institutional bid, ETFs and Sailor and everything like that. It's not really retail. I would say that retail doesn't really matter when it comes to Bitcoin anymore whatsoever. Invalidation, how many times could you be wrong before you have to reconsider your trading ability if you keep proper risk tolerance? Say 1% risk per trade. When do you say I need more education? It's a good question, man. How many times can you be wrong before you reconsider your trading? So the way that I test out anything, I've spoken about this on stream before. If I'm testing out any new strategy, I want at least 3 months of data. I think there's too much variance in any shorter time frame for testing. So I think quarter of testing any new strategy is enough data. So if you're trading any new indicator, any new system, any new setup, I wouldn't really care about what your day-to-day or week-to-week performance is. I would look at it after the end of like a quarter and say, okay, during this quarter, I tested out A, a new indicator, B, a new strategy, C, a new trigger, right? And D, a new invalidation. And through that 3 months of testing, what are my stats telling me? Did I improve on my trading over the base case, or did I not improve? Is it the exact same? If it's the exact same, you don't need any of that stuff because you haven't improved your trading. If it's worse, obviously it's not working for you. You definitely don't need it. If it's better, you can start adding it to your system. That's the base case of how I would say it. I wouldn't really say it based on money lost or money made. That's just not how I do it. I just kind of look at the stats. Is there any statistical improvement in my trading based on X, Y, and Z? So one thing that I will tell you guys is like the thing that I've been using this quarter. So in Q2, I started using order book heat maps. That's not something that I've ever used in my trading before. Got a little bit of education on it. For the first, I'd say 6 weeks, I was telling people in Paragon, like, I'm not seeing any improvement so far. It's been like 6-7 weeks or 6 weeks. I'm not seeing any improvement. And then the past like week and a half or 2 weeks, I'm seeing it helping. Again, those are like short-term variations. At the end of the 3 months, I'll have enough data to say, is there any actual statistical advantage of me using and paying attention to this or not? It's a nuanced question that you're asking here because there's going to be user error as well, right? Like, how do you know that you're not at fault here and it's not the system, right? Are you it could be a blanket misunderstanding of how to use something. So what I would say is, for something that's simple like an ICT liquidity sweep, right? Are you trying to short new highs in an uptrend, right? Every single time? Are you just saying, hey, that's an SFP, that's an SFP, I'm going to short this, right? And you don't understand that we're, in a trending environment where we're setting higher highs and higher lows. That's not the context that you want to be using something like that. In this environment, you want to be playing with the strength. In a range-bound environment where you have very clear highs and very clear lows, failed breakouts to the upside or failed breakouts to the downside are very viable strategies to play price in the opposite direction. So if you're failing to break down from support, that's a viable long trigger. If you're failing to break out over resistance, that's a viable short trigger. But you don't want to just use these strategies in a trending environment. That you're not going to be successful there. So it's a really good question. I don't know if I have a really good kind of blanket answer other than what I've already said there, right? How will you know? So like, round this out. How will you know if it's user error or just doesn't, click with what you're already using? I think the best case is to ask questions with people that are experienced with these things. So if you have like a setup that's based on trends or anything like that, you can always come to me and ask me, and if I have time, I'll answer it. The best, case that you're going to have to get me to answer these questions are either here on the live stream, or if you join Paragon and, ask me in there, I'll obviously, answer your question no matter what. But the best case to get, my experience with some of these things is to ask me on stream, right? And you say, look, I took this setup, I'm getting it wrong. Is it my setup or not? And if I have time, I'll answer it, right? I always enjoy helping. That's why I'm literally doing these streams. The best kept secret in trading is that far more money has been made buying new highs than any other type of strategy. It's not even close. There's a lot of nuance in that as well, man. When you're trading breakouts, you want to be trading off the back of strength, right? Trading a breakout is the same kind of thing as anything else. If you have a really strong move above highs that retraces, that's not strength. So if you have a level like this and you get a God candle above it, right? You can call this an FVG, you can call this single prints, you can call this an expansion candle, whatever kind of term you want to use for this. You don't want this to fully retrace. You want the market to use this as new support, build a new value, and look to trade higher from these locations. So yeah, buying new highs and buying breakouts are extremely valuable. You just need to know the kind of weakness showing up, right? And you don't want to hold these positions all the way back down, just like any other trade. You want to know what you're looking for. Four-hour trend compression and breakout happening for AAVE. All right. Last few minutes, guys, and I'm going to wrap up the stream here. Yeah, this is a good example. Once again, using the high time frame structures to break you out of low time frame structures, right? This is another example. I don't know when we were talking about this, but it's another breakout example, right? A bunch of stacked highs. You're trading above these highs. You don't really want this perfect retest. Even if you're getting the perfect retest, you want to know that you're wrong very quickly, kind of like the doodles here, holding 4-hour trend, 4-hour demand as support. You fail to do so, it's just leading to chop, big breakdown, all the way gap filling, all the way to the daily, right? So you're trading above this 4-hour downtrend at the moment. Here's your expansion candle. If you get a pullback, into here, you do want to see a very strong bid. You obviously don't want this to fully retrace. So if you're playing the expansion, you're looking for reactions in this location, right? You're not looking for deep pullbacks. You like strength, breakout trading needs people to come in and chase, right? So if you're getting a move and you're confident in this to continue, any pullback should be met with a lot of buyers, a lot of strength, right? A lot of people should be getting into this position. But if you let everyone get filled, that's a severe lack of strength. So that's where the kind of nuance comes in with breakout trading. I mean that TradingView now has volume candles instead of regular candles or lines, etc. Gotcha. No, I haven't toyed around with it. Pretty simple. It changes the width of the candles depending on how much volume is in each candle. Interesting. Yeah. Maybe look into that one day. Not really interested at the moment. All right, guys. I'm running on fumes now. My head is starting to hurt. I'm gonna wrap up the stream there. Sorry, it's a little bit shorter. Usually I try to go for 2 hours, but hour and a half. Hopefully that was helpful. We covered a lot of topics. And yeah, man, I appreciate you guys for joining me. If you guys could do me a favor, hit the like button on your way out. Like I said, it would help out the stream a lot. And subscribe if you haven't already, right? If you find out later in a week or two that you don't like my streams, and you can always unsubscribe, right? It costs you nothing, but it will help out the channel. So I appreciate you guys for joining, and I'll see you guys again next week on Monday. Thanks, boys.